What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV back here for another preview stream. We are back. It is not the day before the game, but we are travelling to Lisbon tomorrow, so we thought we'd bring you the stream today. Big game in the Champions League, obviously. Sporting Lisbon away in the early kickoff on Tuesday, 5:45 kickoff out in Lisbon. And let's get straight into it, Sim. Obviously, we won our first game. They won their first game against the odds, really, against Frankfurt in Frankfurt, 3-0 on the day, which was quite a surprise for everyone, wasn't it?
A bit, but Frankfurt don't seem to be the same team they were last season. I think they've dropped a few levels, and to be fair, despite winning Europa League, they finished 11th in the Bundesliga, and they've lost their best player in Kostic. So it was a bit of a surprise maybe for the bookies, but I think when it comes to quality of both teams, maybe not a massive surprise, but then again, Lisbon have also lost some good players this summer. So the fact that they've regrouped and had by all accounts, looks like they've had a pretty decent start to the season, including that 3-0 win. You have to say fair play to them, but I think most expecting, the Bundesliga team being at home, especially, you expect them to win, but looks like Lisbon, I was watching the highlights, Lisbon really showed up, and they hit them 3 times and led the way by a former Tottenham boy as well, who was man of the match.
Yeah, Marcus Edwards really getting to grips with things. Obviously, we sold him to Victoria, wasn't it? And he had such a good spell there that Sporting Lisbon, one of the best teams in Portugal, did pick him up, and he's doing really well there. But in terms of Sporting's start to the season, I mean, it hasn't been that great in terms of the other teams. I mean, they're already 8 points behind Benfica. They've let in 8 goals already this season, which shows definitely a leaky defence. Players that they've sold over the summer, Matthias Nunes to Wolves for 40 million. Nuno Mendes, after a loan spell at PSG, he got sold for 35 million. João Palhinha got sold to Fulham, who's made a good start to life there. So some important players being sold by Sporting Lisbon. It's a strange one because every team that we're facing in the Champions League this year is kind of a similar case, isn't it? Yeah, they've all kind of been stripped of their best talent this summer, and after very promising seasons last season. Obviously, they finished second last season in the Primeira Liga to Porto, but whether they can sustain that is another question. But it's not going to be an easy game at all. Of course. But I think the way they play would probably suit us, because looking at their underlying statistics from their performances, they like to have a lot of possession. They average like over 60% possession in all their games. And they like to attack teams, and especially their front three as well. Marcus Edwards, there's Trincao, who used to play for Wolves. I can't remember who the other one is. Conchalves. They are kind of like tricky, nimble players who like to dribble, like to take people on, but they're not physical. They're not going to trouble you if you're sitting in a low block and they're trying to weave their way through. They like to play within space. And if we restrict them of their space, they're definitely going to be leaving gaps at the back. So if we can we can definitely have the opportunities to hit them on the counter-attack for sure. And I think the way they play is really going to suit the way we play. So from that perspective, I'm quite encouraged. But if we give them too much encouragement, like maybe we did Marseille in the first half of the game last week, then we could be in trouble, because you don't want to be so back offish. Because I think against Marseille, we just weren't getting their faces enough. We weren't being aggressive enough. We were leaving way too much control to Marseille. So with Lisbon, as long as we keep them at arm's length, but once they get anywhere near our penalty area, we win the ball back quickly and get the ball to our forwards, there should be a lot of space for us to attack. In terms of where they're ranking in their league this season, in terms of goals per match, they rank 4th in the Premier Liga in Portugal, behind Braga, Porto and Benfica. In terms of goals conceded, they're actually ranking 14th with 1.3 goals conceded per game, which is not great. In terms of possession, they're really high in the possession stats, 2nd in the division with 63.9%, only keeping 3 clean sheets this season, and ranking 4th in expected goals with 9.6. So, I mean, they're not performing in terms of like the best in the league where they want to be. They want to be challenging for the title come the end of the season. Yes, it is early on in the season, so I do think they'll get to grips with things. But I guess it's probably a teething period of losing such big players and bringing in also big players. Where in terms of the players that they've brought in, they signed Pedro Porro finally off Man City, which they had him on loan last season, who actually is doing really well there. They got Trincao on loan off Barcelona, who was at Wolves last season. But apart from that, I don't really know many of the players here. Roshinia is another player from Victoria, maybe trying to follow the mould of Marcus Edwards. But if you bring up the graphic of, this is the lineup that they played this weekend, yesterday, in their 4-0 win. Marcus Edwards up front and Roshinia and Trincao in a front three, which and then in the middle they got Conchalves, and he's actually their danger man. He tops their tallies for goals, tops their tallies for assists, and seems like a really, really dangerous player from the middle of the park for them.
Yeah, definitely.
4 goals and 3 assists for him, so 7 goal contributions in total. Second after that is Marcus Edwards with 2 goals, 2 assists for them, and then Trincao is third with 3, which he has, I think, 2 assists and 1 goal.
Yeah, and I think there's already evidence of them starting to get into the season because they've won their last 3 without conceding, scoring 9 goals. So and that's including
maybe it was
the
just
Champions
teasing problems
League.
at the beginning of the season.
They're starting to strut their stuff, it looks like. From what I saw against Frankfurt, despite the fact that Frankfurt lost 3-0, they definitely did have chances. And I believe they had, I think it was a penalty they had, which maybe VAR overturned. But it was kind of a... it was just a case of Frankfurt being the home team, maybe being more open than they usually are against the Lisbon side, and Trincao and Marcus Edwards were definitely able to exploit that. And Marcus Edwards, I have to say, was absolutely phenomenal in that game. From what I saw, he was giving Frankfurt no end of problems. He was he threatened to score a few times before he eventually did, and he actually set up a goal for Trincao as well. So he seems to be playing fairly well. I don't know how he's doing on a week-on-week basis in the Premier League, but in the first game of the Champions League, he seems to be playing really well.
2 goals, 2 assists ain't bad for this stage of the season.
Which is pretty good. So obviously they got danger men, and we know from him that he's got supreme quality. If you allow him, if you're not aggressive up against him and you allow him space and time, he's got a really good left foot, and his dribbling ability, that close control, is very difficult to deal with. But as long as we're compact as we usually are, well, we know how Conte always likes to play, I think that we should be all right with limiting him. And it's all right. It's all about what we're going to do when we have the ball. And it's going to be interesting to see if we allow Porto to dominate the possession that they usually have, or if they're going to play a different game to try and frustrate us and we are going to have more possession. Because if I was them, that's what I would try and do. Try and lure us out and then try and get Edwards and Trincao as much space as possible. But I kind of get the feeling that that's not going to happen. I think we're going to sit a bit deeper again. We're going to restrict them the space, and then we're going to try and draw them out just because that's their natural game.
And that will kind of play into our hands a bit more than maybe the way it planned out against Marseille. I know we got the win against Marseille in the end, but it was a very hard-fought victory, and it didn't look great at times. Do you think the way maybe Sporting play their football will play into our hands just that bit more?
Yeah, I do. In essence, the way Marseille play should have as well, because they also like to kind of have possession and dominate, but they play a kind of a different formation. They play with unlike Lisbon, they both play 3 at the back, but they like to play. They both play pretty 3 at the back. Marseille played with 3 down in the centre, so they could outnumber us in possession. That was a bit different. But when it comes to Lisbon, they play fairly similar formation to us, and that should really help in the sense that they shouldn't be able to dominate us 3 in the middle. It should be man for man, and that's where we really benefit, I think. So I think Lisbon should play into our hands. Really, that's what I'm hoping for. It's just about whether we're as defensively solid as we have been, and if we are, I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, and if we do win this game already, 2 games in, we've put ourselves in an extremely strong position in this group, haven't we? 2 wins from 2.
Yeah, even in a draw, I think we're in a good position. So that wouldn't be a terrible result. And I think historically we don't have the best record away in Europe. So I don't think a draw should be sniffed at. But obviously, I wouldn't take one now. I think we're good enough to go then and win. If we do that, then yeah, we're in a very strong position. 2 very difficult games out of the way, and then a double header against Frankfurt to come.
Yeah, and with Marcus Edwards, obviously he got shunned by Spurs. How many years ago now? About 3-4 years ago, maybe a bit longer than that.
2018 potentially.
I mean, he's definitely going to look at this game with a point to prove. Definitely. He's going to want to, look at those Tottenham that kind of we released him in the end, didn't we? Because he just apparently there was an attitude problem or something like that on the back of Pochettino really bigging him up at times, calling him mini Messi and stuff like that. Whether you agree with that or whether you don't,
he admitted it was a mistake to do that.
Yeah, and I think it was a mistake. Putting a lot of pressure on his young shoulders at that age. He's definitely, he seems to have grown up a bit, seems to have really knuckled down as a professional footballer now, and he's definitely going to have a point to prove.
And we even saw that. I remember they played Arsenal in Europa, not Lisbon. He was at Victoria, and they played Arsenal in Europa League, and he got a goal, really nice goal as well, and he clearly had a point to prove in that game. So for sure, he's going to be the danger man. I think him playing in a false nine helps us a bit because I don't think he's going to be as effective as maybe if he had a bit of space out wide and he had to pull maybe one of our centre backs into a wider position and threaten them. If he's going to be a false nine, I think that him coming deeper, that's where you want him. You don't want him as close to goal, so that should help us. But definitely, he's going to have his tail up. Definitely, he's going to. This is probably his biggest game of his career. I would say at this point, this is going to be a massive game for him. Especially coming against his old club.
Is it a worry for you, someone like Marcus Edwards, who's really nimble on his feet, very small, by the way? Does it worry you that maybe if he gets in a one-on-one with Eric Dyer, and Eric Dyer sometimes when he's pushing up, he really doesn't command himself. Does it worry you with how fast Edwards can be to turn Dyer like that in those positions?
Yeah, it does, but I think what we've seen a lot of the time is that the Dyer isn't great in one-on-one situations, which is why he's not very good in the back four. But that's why we have a back three, is because we don't have him in too many one-on-one situations. So if he is, if Dyer up one-on-one against a lot of attackers with a lot of pace and mobility, when he's being run at, is a worry. But we're not in that scenario very often, and so I'm not too worried about that being the case, because he's got two other defensive defenders around him and two centre mids as well. So even in the cases this season where he's been where he's actually been exposed for those things, we've had the defenders to cover, thankfully, and it hasn't cost us too much. And if we were playing in a back four, he would be absolute toast, in my opinion. So I think from that sense, as we just hope that he doesn't get isolated, but I'm confident he won't be, because that's how we play. We don't isolate our centre backs, especially the centre one. So it shouldn't be too much a worry for me. But if it does happen, especially for example, if we happen to be chasing a game in the second half and we do have to throw caution to the wind, that's when they're going to get some joy. But hopefully that situation doesn't arise.
Yeah, and Romero will be thriving or looking forward to a matchup like him against Marcus Edwards, because it's a matchup where he can really impose his physical dominance against someone like Marcus Edwards.
Yeah, and I think he'll thrive out of that, being able to be as aggressive as he can. I think when he's physically dominant against your position, that's when he's at his absolute best. I think when the problems Romero has is when he tries to be super aggressive against attackers who are actually his physical match or even superior, because then all of a sudden he can bounce off them and then we're in trouble.
Saw that a couple of times with players like Antonio in the past.
Yeah, exactly. So I think against these kind of attackers where he can absolutely bully them, that's when he can allow himself to be super aggressive, because he can just get ahead of them. He can shove them off balance. He can get the upper hand, and then he's really difficult to deal with and get around. So I think these are the kind of attackers he thrives against playing, and I don't think on his side they're going to get a look in, honestly, if he's playing.
Yeah, I agree.
And hopefully Longley, I'm sure Longley, given the fact that the City game was cancelled on the weekend, I'm going to assume he's not going to look to rotate too much. So I'm going to think he's going to play a very similar team, I reckon.
Yeah, but how much of an advantage is that for us now that the City game's been postponed, had a week or more or less a week to prepare for this game? Is it an advantage?
Yeah, of course it is, because we've had a week to prepare. The City game was cancelled last minute, so I doubt we were preparing for Lisbon on Friday.
That's what I'm saying. Is it an advantage or is it a disruption to preparations?
I think it's an advantage to the fact we've had a week rest. 100%. We've seen it so many times, even last season, how having a whole week to whole week to either prepare or to rest for one game is a massive advantage. But it's not going to be such a massive advantage where like we're now guaranteed to win. Obviously, you still have to earn it, and these are professional footballers. They can play 2 games or 3 games in a week or whatever it is. So it's not going to be like something that's going to be massively tangible, but it definitely gives us a bit of an upper hand, and especially with Conte talking about how worried he was playing 3 games in 6 days, which must have been a bit of a worry for him. I think the fact that the City game was cancelled in the short term probably does allow us a bit more time to refresh, and we've known that performances haven't been amazing, weren't amazing of late, apart from the Fulham game. So hopefully we can be as fresh as possible going into Tuesday, and I think the fact that we have the game was cancelled should allow us to do that. It should be an advantage. I don't see it as a disruption for sure, especially with Lisbon playing yesterday. So that should definitely help us, but it's not something that you can say that's the reason we're going to win. But it definitely helps.
And in terms of other personnel in the squad, Perisic, the front 3, obviously I think we go with Perisic, right, with this game?
Yeah, I think so. I don't see any reason not to. I think we're going to probably go unchanged, I would assume. And it'll be
It's such unfair on Kulusevski once again. Because like he's been playing so well. You can argue he's been playing better than Richarlison. You can argue maybe not better than Kane with the returns he's got, but you could definitely argue he's been better than Sonny, that's for sure. I don't even think it's an argument that he's been better than Sonny. I think it's just clear facts. How unfair is it on Kulu to keep missing out like this? It will be the 3rd game in a row, won't it?
Yeah, it will be. And I'm sure he won't be happy about it. And maybe he will. Look, it's not even beyond the realm's possibility he will play. Maybe he will give Son a rest, seeing as the City game was a big one and we didn't even play it. So maybe this is a good time to give Sonny time on the bench. But maybe the fact as well that we've not played since Wednesday, maybe that would also help Sonny. So I think knowing Conte, knowing how much he trusts and relies on those 2 big players, I do think he's going to find it very difficult to leave them out. However bad decision or what, if you disagree with it or not, I do think he's going to find it difficult to leave them out if he doesn't have to. So
surely he has to leave Son out at some point. Like everyone's going to have to rest, even Kane.
Yeah, I agree, but right now maybe it's not the time. We've just had a week break, so why was there? Do we have to leave him out? I mean, form-wise, you'd argue maybe, but I think maybe this also could be a very good game for him as well, because with the way Sporting play, he could have some chances. So I just suspect it's going to be another unlucky game for Kulusevski, but maybe he comes in on the weekend. That's why I reckon he goes unchanged. That's just my prediction.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. All right, well, in terms of the game, it is on. We had a bit of a scare this morning as Spurs on their website, it said Sporting Lisbon v Tottenham postponed, but it was an error. It was left over from the Man City game last week. They did confirm that the game is on as of now anyway. Anything can happen in the next 24 hours.
They can't cancel it. They can't.
Yeah, I mean, I find it very difficult to see them cancelling it, because if they cancel it, I think that automatically awards 3 points straight to Sporting. So it'll be disastrous, to be honest.
They're not going to cancel it unless they got the UEFA go-ahead. They're not going to do that. That would be stupid. That would just be idiotic.
Would be idiotic. But look, the game is going ahead. In terms of score predictions, what are you going for?
I think we're going to win with a clean sheet. That's what I'm hoping for. I reckon Sporting are going to huff and puff, but they're not going to be able to blow our house down. And I think that Spurs should be able to exploit the space that Sporting leave in their own half through our brilliant attackers. So I'm going to go with a 2-0 win.
2-0?
Yeah.
Interesting. I think that... I think they will, with their home crowd, I think they will get a goal from somewhere. I think Marcus Edwards maybe can creep round the back of Dyer or something like that. And I think it'll be a difficult game, especially with the Lisbon crowd behind them. Spurs, historically, not being the greatest team away from home in Europe. But still, I am going for a Spurs win, but I think it'll be a very tight game, and I'm going for 2-1 to Spurs, and hopefully Sonny to get back in the score sheet, because I think everyone's just praying that Sonny does get back on the score sheet, because we know that once Sonny hits the back of the net, he's not going to stop. he's not going to stop and he's going to get back to his best. So I'm going for 2-1. My brother's going for 2-0. Let me know your score predictions in the comments section below. And that is your match preview for Game 2 of the Champions League. And now it's time to bring on some guests. And who have we got on first?
It's time for you guys to have your say on the game on Tuesday.
Here we go. Has made it a bit of a boring weekend, hasn't it? No Premier League, no football.
It's been very frustrating.
I know, it's just literally nothing to do.
You're trying to get hyped for Bundesliga. It's just not the same.
To be honest, I did watch the Bayern Munich game.
Yeah, I watched. Yeah, that was 2-2, wasn't it? That was quite a decent one. I was actually watching the Leipzig Dortmund, and I was Leipzig
3-0, didn't it?
Leipzig absolutely battered them. Which was interesting because I thought Leipzig just lost on the back of a 3-0 home defeat to Shakhtar. I was like, surely Dortmund are doing something here, but definitely not. They absolutely battered them, which is very, very interesting. But I was watching a bit of La Liga, Serie A. You're trying to get a bit of European football, get a bit of cultured football, but it's not the same. It ain't the same. You just don't have the same buzz about it.
No, Premier League is the best.
But one thing I'd definitely say is I think actually I'm watching La Liga games. Their broadcasting is so much better than Premier League. I don't understand. First of all, the cameras are much better. They got all these amazing 4K cameras which they broadcast football on, or the La Liga on. When they show chances and replays and stuff, it's just so much more sophisticated than it is in Premier League. They pause it in certain moments and then they get the goal probability of the goal going in for the chance and stuff. It's why can't the Premier League do this? It's so much better at La Liga.
Apparently, there's not enough money in the Premier League.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. Funding issues, I'm sure. It's Sky Sport, I think they've got to adapt to 2022. I think Sky Sports are still in the past, in my opinion.
Yeah, probably right. Let's go on to our first guest, and it's Hassan. Hassan, how are you holding up with no Premier League this weekend?
It's been a tough few days, but looking forward to the Champions League game. So
you're getting withdrawal symptoms, Tottenham withdrawal symptoms.
Yeah, exactly.
But how are you feeling coming into this game? You think it's going to help us having a week's rest?
Yeah, for sure. I think you've seen it in last season whenever, I think there was a stat that came with Sky Sports saying, we win more games when we have 6 or 7 days of rest because Conte can work with, our players. Obviously, he was probably preparing for Man City, so it's a sort of different thing, but the lack of game time for the players would be beneficial. So yeah, I think it's going to be beneficial for us, but how beneficial we'll have to see because obviously it was a last-minute cancellation for the Man City game.
Yeah, it was. But looking at the game on Tuesday, obviously we struggled a bit against Marseille, but got over the line eventually. But how much of a difficult game do you envisage? Do you know much about Sporting Lisbon? Do you know about many of their players?
I was doing a bit of research on them, just tactically and how they're set up. They're set up pretty identical to us with the 3-4-3, or sometimes they change it to 3-4-2-1. So it's not going to be one side dominating the other side. We're going to play similar ways. So it's going to be who bites first, who's going to leave space behind first for the other team to exploit, and then it's just about how much you can do that for. It's going to be an away game, so that's always going to add a bit of difficulty. We won't have our home fans, and the European fans are very energetic when it comes to the home teams. You saw that for the Marseille fans who were at our ground last time. So it's going to be, atmosphere-wise, a tough game, and we can't start how we started against Marseille. I think Perisic said in an interview that we seemed sort of scared when we started the first half, and we can't act like that against Sporting, or they'll just eat us alive. So we got to be ready. It's Champions League. We got to be up for it, and it's going to be an interesting game because, like I said, we play same formations. We both sit back waiting for counter. That's what they did against Frankfurt for their 3 goals. They just sat back, and then on the counter they scored the 3 goals. So if two teams are playing like that, it's going to be a bit of back and throw, and who's gonna bite first.
But so far this season, they have been a heavily possession-based team. Maybe they did switch up their tactics against Frankfurt, an away game in the Champions League. Do you see them doing that again at home and go against the grain, what they maybe have done majority of the season?
I think they'll sit back again, because if you think about it, what's the best way for Spurs to play when they have space, right? I think Bentancur and Højbjerg look a much better midfield pair when they're not getting pressed all the time. Right? They have time to like pass in between, pick out passes, and they look a lot better, I think, like that Fulham game. But if they sit back, we don't have that creative spark, like we've said so many times, so it's going to be difficult for us. So I envision it to be similar to Marseille. They're going to sit back, press us every now and then, and just see what we can do. And if we aren't able to pass it around like we were doing against Marseille, it's going to be another sort of, I think, boring kind of game until something happens, whether it's a goal or another red card, something. Because I don't see them playing that possession-based football against us, because that's where we thrive, when we have we win the ball and we have space with whoever our front three is. So I envision them to sit back and just make it hard for us, and I see us doing the same. So it's going to be a real tug of war kind of situation.
Question in the terms of lineup though, does Sonny get his start up front? Obviously he was probably going to start on the weekend. You reckon he's starting again? No chance he gets left out.
If he hasn't been dropped yet, he's not going to get dropped now. I just don't see the problem. Look, I love Antonio Conte so much. We all do. But if there's one criticism I can give him, just one small thing, is he's very stubborn.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't like change. He doesn't like to try out new things, right? You see that with the right wing back situation.
He likes stability, doesn't he? He just likes what he...
Yeah. Emerson's played 7 games, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a right wing back, that's one of the most testing positions physically. And he hasn't given him a single rotation because Matt Doherty isn't up to the fitness level he wants, and Jed Spence is unknown, right? You don't know how he's going to perform. And since Conte doesn't like taking risks, it's always going to be Emerson, because at least he's fit enough to play that role. So I don't think he'll disrupt that, because in his mind he knows that, and to be fair, he's not wrong, that if Sonny is on his game, that he's pretty much unbeatable. So I envision it to be the same lineup as Marseille. I don't think there'll be any changes at all. And we just got to hope that performance-wise, hopefully, it can be something like Fulham and Southampton. Because if it's like Marseille, it's going to be, like I said before, a bit of a tough watch.
With Tottenham coming up against their former player, Marcus Edwards, is there any sort of worry that he's going to really want to up his game and this is going to be a massive game for him, or do you think we should have enough to deal with him in this one?
I mean, he's obviously going to want to prove some people wrong, show that he was maybe good enough. But look, I think you guys were talking about it before. It depends where he plays. If he plays out on the wing, as number 10s behind the lone striker, it might be a bit easier for Romero to just physically outmuscle him. If he accesses the striker and he's 1-on-1 with Eric Dyer, it might be a different type of situation. But I just think that with the back three, I think Romero will have been given orders to ensure that he's on those kind of players. So look, it's difficult to say whether he'll cause us trouble, but I don't expect it to be that much of an issue.
All right, Hassan, and finally, what's your score prediction for Tuesday?
I'm going to say 2-0.
2-0.
2-0.
I don't think it'll be pretty, but I think we'll be there eventually.
All right, is Sonny going to get back on the score sheet?
I hope. I mean, we're all hoping. Because I think everyone says this. Once he scores one, he'll score. Continuously score, and that's true. I just need it to happen sooner than later, because
absolutely.
We have that Arsenal game coming up soon, and we need everyone firing 100%. So I hope he scores a hat-trick, 4 or 5. I don't care, just anything. And but fingers crossed he scores, fingers crossed we win, and we get 2 from 2 in our Champions League endeavours.
All right, big up Hassan. Thanks for coming on,
Nice one,
and we
Hassan.
shall see you
worries.
next time.
Yeah,
Come on, you Spurs. Let's keep going, guys. Let's keep going. Who do we have next? Avmaster, how you doing, my brother? I think he's on mute. I'm not sure if it's our end or his end. It's your end, I think.
It's on the settings. There should be a settings thing with the audio. No. One sec. All right. We'll try and get him back. Try reconnect, Avemaster. We'll try and get you back on. If we can sort out your audio. Not really sure what's going on. All right, he's going to try and reconnect. Is there anyone in the meantime we can chat to while we wait for Avemaster?
Is there anyone else there? I don't see anyone else in the back end.
Nah, no one else.
There's no one else there.
Seems like that's bad news.
It's bad news that there's no one else there for sure.
It's terrible, terrible news.
Oh, look who's come in. It's KPV.
It's
Bad news,
bad
KPV.
news.
How you doing, KPV?
I'm good. First off, let me say a few things. I hope you guys are right from Wednesday. I hope you're okay.
Yeah, we're fine.
Oh, great, yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to say rest easy to our lovely Queen, who is a legend. And first off, I just want to call out someone who I do not respect, and that is Trevor Sinclair, tweeting something inappropriate about our Queen. Disrespectful, mate. Trevor Sinclair tweeting something inappropriate. I think you guys saw the tweet.
We did, yeah.
Disrespectful, mate. Complete fraud. I don't like him, mate. Disrespectful prick. Tweeting that again about anyone else. Watch what happens, mate. You're nothing but a complete arsehole, mate. Never liked him. Never will. Played for West Ham. Nothing. What were you thinking?
Shots being fired by KPV here.
I'm smacking the next time I see him because I don't like him.
We
Never
don't condone violence here at We Are Tottenham TV, Kyle.
Yeah, I still don't like the geezer anyway because he's just complete fraud anyway. So, but anyway, let's talk about the game. But before I want to talk about our recent game we just played, Marseille, and I think someone said 2-0. I don't know what must have been Barry. Yeah, Barry said 2-0, and Richarlison double. Like people were laughing at him when he scored, but Richarlison double, brilliant. He's gonna do it again.
Yeah, absolutely great. Do you think he keeps his place for the game against Lisbon, or do you think Kulusevski maybe has a chance of playing?
I think it has to be Richarlison, Kane, and Kulusevski. Like, I know Son hasn't been doing great, but give him a rest. I think you start Kulusevski, Richarlison with Kane. Like, Richarlison deserves to keep his spot. He can play left wing, right wing, but I start Kulu on the right, Kane striker, and Richarlison on the left. That's what I do. But I know I don't provide any life insurance. Yeah.
Why don't you provide that, Kyle?
I don't know, mate, but yeah, that's what I would do.
Who needs it? Why? Who needs it?
I don't know, but also I want to congratulate our best friend Expressions on 100k subscribers on YouTube. Big up.
He's got a bit more than that, I think.
150 then whatever.
250. A quarter of a million.
250.
Congrats to him. Are we going to win then on Tuesday?
Tuesday. Of course we are. Like I said, I'm not worried about Marcus Edwards because he is Tottenham through and through. And in case you're not aware, on this day in 2010, Van der Vaart joined Spurs.
All right.
That's a good omen.
That's the fun fact for today.
Yeah, Van der Vaart, mate. Because, yeah, and yeah, so on this day in 2010, the legend that is Rafa Van der Vaart joined Spurs. So he's going to be watching, and I agree with Peter Crouch. I think the Queen would have loved the games to continue because it would be nice for us to come together, sing the anthem, and yeah, it would have been better to play the game. She would have loved them to continue. I don't know why they postponed it because it's not why. I don't agree with it, and I know some people are saying it is, but I just don't think it is. And this weekend's game's definitely not getting postponed because I can't go to the Leicester game now because tickets were sold out in August, which is not good. But
It's a
yeah,
shame.
I'll yeah, but I'll definitely see you on the 12th of October at the Frankfurt game and the Newcastle game as well, 22nd. So I'll see you at those games. So,
You bet.
but we're going to win Tuesday 2-0 again with Charleston double.
Another Richarlison
All
double.
right, I'm loving it. So you're getting 4 goals for Richarlison in 2 games, 2
I'll
Champions League
start
games.
calling him Mr. Champions League after that.
Yeah. But
Yeah, let's call him Mr. Champions League because it was his dream, and I still can't get his tears. He was crying after he scored 2, and the kid wanted his shirt. Like he wanted it anyway because he probably would have given it. Like so, we're gonna win Tuesday. Another brace from Richie, 2-0. Yeah, that's 4. So, but yeah, I say, but they won't award 3 points to Lisbon. There's no way they're going to do that if it's postponed because it's got nothing to do with them. So they'll award it to us, not them. It'll be awarded to us but it's not getting postponed anyway. Let's be honest.
Yeah, just give us
2-0
the 3 points already. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Kyle.
we don't want a repeat of the Conference League. Given 3 points to win, no, thank you. I want the 3 points to us, thank you, not Lisbon because they've got
Damn right.
Edwards.
It's all marched
So,
down to UEFA and demand the 3 points. That's what I say.
3 points. So
Exactly.
yeah, that's what I want. All right,
Nice one, Carl.
I'm off to listen to Let the Dogs Out.
Nice
big
one.
up, Carl. See you
Just have
later.
it on loop, Kyle.
See you
Nice.
later, boys. See ya. Who
See
let
ya.
the dogs out? David did. David did.
Oh God,
Gotta love
Carl
Kyle.
Patrick Vineyard, the man, the myth, the legend. Let's go on to our next guest.
Oh, that's a good strategy, though. Just get UEFA to give us a 3 points.
Yeah, I mean,
what's the point?
let's-
Why even bother playing?
Let's keep doing that all the way to the final.
Exactly. Give us the 3 points.
Let's go to Ave Master. Let's see if his audio is back.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
How are you doing, my friend?
How's it going? You good?
Oh, it's just cutting out. Hello?
Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. all
Yeah,
good,
yeah.
all good.
How you doing? How you doing?
I'm doing absolutely superb, lads. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Obviously, missing Spurs this weekend, missing Premier League football this weekend. Not been much to watch. I've had to watch like German football and Italian football and this kind of stuff. But how are you feeling coming into the game on Tuesday? Are you confident?
I'm confident. I'm looking at Sporting's past few games and they're looking fairly strong. But at the same time, I think they have been defeated once or twice. I'm not sure. But coming on that, our confidence should be high. I'm flipping well hoping that Son doesn't play. As much as I love him and he is Spurs, he is the heart of Spurs. He needs to sit out on this game and then let the game come back and just. Because when you see when people sit out like Benton, they sit out and then they come back 13 times stronger. Son has not sat out a single game, I think, for the past 20 games or something like that.
I can't remember since Conte's come in if he's ever sat out a game. Has he missed any game?
I don't think he's ever sat on the bench. No.
Exactly. So when you come to it, like it may very well be, if we're going by the easy term, tiredness. But if we're going by the hard term, maybe he's just he's got lack of confidence. Which
tiredness shouldn't be a factor though if we've had a week break, should it?
no, not absolutely not. You're completely correct on that one. I kind of forgot that we have a week. I went to that Marseille game. Those Marseille fans, man, they were vicious.
Were you close to them?
We were above them. I was looking. My parents were looking down.
Oh, I see.
And what were you
so
seeing?
You saw it firsthand.
I saw a bird's eye view. I saw a boat view.
It looked crazy from where we were. We were in the south stand, so I couldn't see everything properly. But you were really up close to it, weren't you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. But that Marseille game, that first half was a hard watch. as many people have said, and I fully agree. It was a hard watch. It was just a lack of teamwork. There wasn't many good passes, and the passes that were made, they weren't to correct positions, if you know what I mean. The left wing back, Perisic, was looking a bit off, but then that second half, he just bounced back with getting that assist and all that. Richarlison, he needs to start at least the next 2 games. Arsenal, I would like to see Son Kane and Kulu, but for the Leicester game and for the Sporting game, Richarlison has to start for me, because absolute class in that Marseille game from him. He was man of the match from pretty much everyone I've heard, and for good reason.
Yeah. When you're talking about our performances in general, a lot of times, apart from maybe the Fulham game and the Southampton game, people are saying, we're not looking great, we're getting away with it a bit. It's not pretty to watch. But when our manager's Conte, is this something? Are those kind of performances where it's not pretty but we get the job done? Is that something we're just going to have to get used to, or is it something that we rightly call out and say no, we need to do better?
If we're getting the results, I wouldn't really dispute it, to be honest. I think Klopp said it last season after we drew with him the second time. He said if they want to play that anti-football, if it's anti-football and we're getting results, I'm not going to argue with us playing anti-football, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, with all honesty, if it gets the job done, the strategy's there. I don't care. Like, Conte seems to be working something, and if it's working, that sounds so bad.
Yeah, but do you think, Avemaster, do you think that we're maybe getting lucky a bit at the moment and riding our luck, and is it sustainable? What's going on right now?
To a certain extent, yes. If anyone scores in that first half, then I'm not gonna deny that they may as well score again in that first half. But so far we've been playing against people who don't have the best strikers. I mean, Man City, Antonio, in my opinion, I don't really rate him. Marseille, I don't remember who their striker is, to be honest. Nottingham Forest, Wolves, both teams haven't scored that much. Like, when you put it into perspective, we're playing not so attacking teams, but we're playing teams that have a very decent back line. So when we go up against people like Arsenal, and when we go up against people like Man City, which got postponed, luckily for me, I would like to see us have a bit more cohesion, because it just looks like there's a lack of confidence and composure, which is causing us to just look a bit chaotic in that first half. The second half, after Conte, like you guys tend to say, stuff's a rocket up their arse. It's we look a lot better, but I want that in the first half, because we can get a goal. We tend to get a goal, not tend to, but we do seem to get goals in the first half, but then we just look absolutely horrific throughout the rest of the first half. That Nottingham Forest game, happened after we scored that goal. First goal looked absolutely. We looked scared, and that's what I'm scared. That's what I'm scared of. Is that if we go up against people like Arsenal, specifically at the Emirates, where we've not had a good run for the past however many years, like, if we look scared, they're going to take advantage of that. People like Saka, people like Jesus, are going to absolutely run rings around our defence.
But when you talk about our defence, we're still restricting the opposition fairly well, aren't we? I mean, the chances we concede are not very high-quality chances, so is there not something to be praised for how we're set up defensively?
I absolutely love our defence at the moment. Yeah, Romero, Dyer, Longley. I'm quite liking how Longley's playing. I think Longley was probably our best defender in that Marseille game, personally. Davies came on. He looked pretty darn good with that diving header save, which glorious to watch from my point of view. So defensively, I'm feeling fairly confident, but Dyer, we need that centre back. we needed that rotational centre back, but he seems to be holding his own at the moment, even though a couple of mistakes here and there, an atrocious pass in the Marseille game, but we didn't concede the goal, so couldn't have been that bad in some people's eyes.
And finally, Avemaster, what's your score prediction for Tuesday night?
Against Sporting, I'm going to say 2-0. I feel confident enough that it's a Champions League game, and seeing as how we played against Marseille, even though it was an atrocious first half, that second half we looked a lot better. I think Richardson's going to score, and I think Harry Kane should get a goal. If Kulu's on, I'm thinking Kulu will score a goal and get an assist. So,
all right. Big up, Ave Master. Thanks for coming on today, my friend, and we shall speak to you next time. Come on, you Spurs. Who is up next? We've got Dan, THFC. Dan, looking very smart today.
Always.
Always.
No, yeah, I'm going to actually church in a little bit, so I'm wearing this to go. Yeah. Praying for us to win the Champions League.
Damn right, and hopefully your prayers will be answered, Dan. But on Tuesday night, we go away to Sporting Lisbon in the second game of our Champions League group stage. Obviously, they won their first game 3-0 away at Frankfurt, so they sit top of the league. Do you think a draw would be a bad result on Tuesday night? Would that be something that you would be unhappy about, or is that a good point away in Europe for you?
No, I think I'd be unhappy with the draw. I think we definitely are a better side than Sporting. I'm not really too much worried about them beating Frankfurt 3-0.
Yeah.
Frankfurt 3-0. It's more, I see that result and I think, wow, Frankfurt are not as good as everybody thought they were. That's what I make from that result. Because Sporting are still, if you look at them, they have not that great of. Recently, they've been really poor. That's just one game. You can't make too much out of one game. So I think that we go to Sporting. We're definitely the favorites. I think that we definitely should win. There's no excuse for us not to win, and it'd be very disappointing. Obviously, if we lose, it'd be very disappointing. If we draw, I'd still say it would be disappointing. I would be going to Portugal, wanting a win and only wanting a win. If we don't come back with the 3 points, I'd be very, very disappointed.
And, you know, players like Marcus Edwards in the team that got shunned by Spurs a couple of years back for not having a great attitude. What kind of point does he have to prove this week?
I don't know how long ago that was, but I started becoming a hardcore Spurs fan not too long ago.
I think it was 2017 he left, maybe 16.
I think no.
I started becoming a hardcore.
I think 2018, something
18
like that, yeah.
maybe.
Well, I started becoming a hardcore Spurs fan in 2018. I was always a Spurs follower before that, but a hardcore Spurs fan in 2018, and I don't remember him, to be completely honest with you. So
yeah, because I think he only made one appearance for us in a Cup game. So yeah, but he
actually left 2019.
It was 19 then.
Yeah.
Pochettino
Really?
was calling him the mini Messi. He's saying he had loads of quality about him, and then after that, I think maybe it got to his head and he started having some attitude problems. And Pochettino even later came out and said that it was a mistake for him to say what he said about Edwards beforehand. But he's gone to Portugal. He played for a team called Victoria after being released by Spurs. He then built himself to such a level that Sporting Lisbon were interested, and now he's gone to one of the biggest teams in Portugal. So there's something to say about his rise, and maybe he's got something to prove against us.
yeah, if that's the truth, then obviously he's got a point to prove. I'm not sure why Pochettino said he'd be the next Messi if he only gave him one game. That's pretty weird, but I can't
He was a kid coming through the academy. That's what it was.
Maybe I understand that. Is he Argentinian?
No, he's English.
Oh, that I don't know what was running through Pochettino's head. I don't know if he was drunk or something. He went out with Hugo Lloris or something. I have no clue what he was thinking, but. Maybe, yeah, definitely he's got a point to prove. But if we're playing against a player that Tottenham game one game, it could also be used as a positive that's not that, he's not a great player, obviously, if we only give him one game. So I wouldn't be too worried about it. I don't know if he's a starter or not. If he is, then maybe.
Yeah, he is.
He is.
He is, all right. So definitely he's got a point to prove, but I think we should definitely contain him.
Well, talk to me about the front three coming into this game. A lot of conversations we have every week regarding Heung-min Son. What do you do with the front three this on Tuesday?
I think you have to start Kulusevski. I'm sorry. I love Sonny and all, but he cannot be starting this week. That is like that's already so many games that are this poor. I can't with Son anymore. Like I love him and all. I love him to absolute bits. Every jersey I get from Tottenham, I put Son on the back. But enough is enough. This guy just I don't know. I don't even. Last game, whenever he'd control the ball, it looked like he was trying to impress Spurs fans. And when he should have passed to Kane, he would keep the ball a little longer to see if he could create something to get his confidence back. That's not Son. I don't like that. That version of Son, I really hate it. And I think that we have to go with Kulusevski on the right, especially while he played coming on. He made such a big difference. And you can see the team without him and the team with him. It's completely different. So Kulusevski on the right, Kane as striker, and Richarlison on the left. That's how I would put the front three.
But what do you think Conte will do?
I think he'll do the same thing. I think he's noticed that Son is...
Yeah, you think he'll take Son out?
Yeah, definitely. If not, then I could see that maybe he does the same thing that he did, but he starts the game off with Kulusevski at right wing back, and then he has Son on the left, and then he has Kane at striker, and then he has Richarlison on the right. Maybe that would be what he does, because I've noticed that like Conte's like worried to drop Son, because he knows as soon as he drops him, that'll be the first story in the first page of the newspapers all week. So that's gonna be.
Not if we win.
That would be. Yeah, even if we win, because then it will be Tottenham drop Kane, no Tottenham drop Son, and they win convincingly. That will be the story. Like, you know how the media is with Tottenham. Trust, we know how the media is with Tottenham. Throughout history, you've seen it. Whenever something, and then they'll make it out to be Tottenham negative. Oh, Son needs to be sold. Tottenham fans it will be this huge narrative. But what the matter needs to be is that he needs to be rested. Even though we've had the whole week to train, he cannot continue playing every single match. Because what is that going to say to Kulusevski? What is that going to say to Richarlison if he was on the bench? No player is above the other. And I think no player is undroppable. So you have to rest Son for this one. Maybe bring him on in the second half and start him in the next game if our next Premier League game is going to go. If not, then it's all up to Conte, of course.
Why hasn't he been rested yet then?
I think that Conte's trying still to, all right, Sonny, this is going to be your opportunity. Let's see if you can do well this game. He doesn't do well. All right, Son. And the thing is, Son is not a player that if you drop him, it will bring his confidence back. Like, there's certain players like Richarlison, that guy's hungry. If you drop him, the next day he'll come on and he'll give you everything to show you that he never should have been dropped. Son is more of that love guy. He doesn't have that type of attitude. So if you drop Son, it actually affects his attitude negatively. So I think that's what Conte was worried about in never dropping Son. But at the end of the day, it's been too many performances. I think now what you've got to do is you've got to drop Son. I think that's exactly what you've got to do.
And what's your score prediction going into the game on Tuesday?
I'll say 3-1. 3-1.
3-1.
And maybe if Son... Also, what I will say about Son is if he scores one or he gets like one brilliant assist, that's his confidence back. All he needs is one moment of magic and his confidence will come back.
Yeah, I feel the same. But who's going to get the 3 goals?
I want to say Kane 2, Richarlison 1. I love that Richarlison guy, man. He is on Twitter, he's an absolute menace, and on the pitch, he's an absolute menace. But look, even though we've seen this side of him on Twitter, like what we saw in the Champions League at the end of the game when he went to hug his family, that was so heartwarming, and it was nice to see that side of him.
Absolutely was. Dan, thanks for coming on today, mate, and we shall see you next time.
Come on, you Spurs, and get here.
If you didn't hear that, he said, "Come on, you Spurs, and let's get Harry Kane off free kicks."
He took another awful one, didn't he?
And I think every Spurs fan can get behind that.
It's so weird though. Like Son in pre-season for Korea in pre-season bangs in 2 brilliant free kicks, and then Kane is still on them. It's like, why not give Kane just one?
Kane in training must be banging them in consistently.
Has Son ever taken a free kick for Tottenham?
No, but every time I've seen him take one, it's amazing. Every time.
Yeah, so I just don't understand it. Why he's not even just allowed one? Like, just give him one.
Surely Perisic should be good at free kicks as well.
Yeah, I don't. He might be, but I don't think I've ever seen him throughout his career take many. But at least Son we've seen, like literally in the past 2 months, take some free kicks and score. So why wouldn't we just allow him one? It's very weird.
Yeah. All right. Is there anyone else? No. All right. So we'll leave it there for today. Predicted lineup will be coming your way tomorrow. And thanks for joining us today. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.